Now we'll try an example with a diverging lens, and you'll see I've already set up the diagram. I've got it all ready to go. This is diverging, I can tell, because of the ends, right? The ends are saying, hey, I'm diverging because my ends are thicker than my middle. So we're going to draw our 3 lines on. Remember, we just learned the 3 slightly different lines for diverging. The first one being that it goes in, straight in, and then instead of going down through this one, it lines up with this one. So we'll put our ruler over here and we'll rotate it and get it to line up properly. Not quite there. Fussy ruler. This ruler's a little bit grouchy sometimes. There we go. That's not bad. So then I can draw on my line. It's going to keep on going up there. Fix my color. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 1 done. So then I'm going to move my ruler and I will do rule number 2. In rule number 2, remember, we are going to go so that we go and aim at this focal point to start. So remember, it's a little bit different. We're going to go through the top of the object and then we're going to aim at, oops, not change the length of the ruler, thank you. We're going to aim at this focal point here. So a little adjustment is needed. So aim at this focal point. Remember, we're not going to go all the way through the lens. We're only going to go up to the lens, and then we're going to stop when we hit the lens. This is just showing us how to aim there. And then once we get to the lens, we are going to go straight so that it is parallel with our principal axis. There's rule number 2. Rule number 3. Rule number 3 is the same for all lenses, which is awesome. So rule number 3, remember, we're going to go through the top of our object and straight on through the optical center. So now I have my 3 lines. You'll see they don't cross on this side. So that means, again, I have to make them cross on the other side. So I'm going to use a dotted line to do this, just to represent that I am tracing them back. Remember, this is what your brain does. Your brain traces lines back that come in. The light enters your eye and your brain thinks the light travels in a straight line. And because of that, it will trace those lines straight on back and see where they cross. And you can see all 3 cross right here. I don't really need to cross or trace back the optical center one, that 3rd line, because it's already there. So now I can draw in my image. So my image is going to be right here, and it's not very big. It's a tiny little arrow. It's not big at all, but that's okay, because that's what happens with diverging lenses. Diverging lenses create small images, so that's perfectly fine. So the size, pretty easy, smaller. The attitude, you can see it is upright, even though I had to draw it pretty tiny. Its location, remember, I can use a couple things for location. This is definitely closer. I can also say it's behind the lens, because it's kind of inside the lens, right? It's kind of tucked in there inside the lens. Let's move my ruler out of the way. Get it out of my way. And then we have our final thing, which is the type. Now remember, we had to trace it back, and not only with our lines, but also with our eye, we would trace it back, which makes it virtual. And remember, the fact it's upright is also a big hint, because upright images are always virtual images. So that is our SALT characteristics to describe our image.